Okay, good evening and welcome to the Shavuos share. This time next week, Mitzvah Hashem is Shavuos. Three fabulous ideas on Shavuos that I'm looking forward to share with you. The first idea I saw in the writings of Rabbi Emanuel Bernstein. He is the author of many Sefarim, and he's got a fabulous sefer on Shavuos called the Call of Sinai. Many very, very lovely pieces in there. And he's got one particular piece which I'd like to share with you, which I thought was fascinating. There is a famous medrash based on a pasuk in Tehillim. The pasuk says in Tehillim, Motzosi David Avdi. I found my Eved, my servant, David HaMelech. Says the medrash in the medrash Rabbi in Parshas Lech Lecha, Motzosi David Avdi, Heichon Motzosi. Where did you find David HaMelech? Says the medrash very enigmatically, Bistoim. What does that mean? That Mitzvah Hashem will come back to, and we'll try and figure out a mahalach to explain it. There is a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Before I share with you this Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, let me share with you an anecdote. Over 17 years ago, Rabbi Hartman came to Hasmonean. So he's been with us ever since. Baruch Hashem, it's fabulous to have him here in London. And he often tells about his Shalom Aleichem at Hasmonean, he calls it. What was his Shalom Aleichem? He came into the base of Medrash, and he gave a shir in the very, very early days. This is, like I say, 17 and a half years ago or so. It was a Thursday. He asked a question, as he often does, and he threw out a question to the whole tzibur, and he offered a donut to anyone who gets the answer. So if you offer a donut to 16, 17, 18-year-old boys, you're gonna pique their curiosity and interest. One boy, I remember exactly who it was, he offers an answer. Rabbi Hartman really liked it, and he said to him, "Fantastic, good answer. The donut is yours." Good. After the shir, this boy brazenly walks to the front, and he said to Rabbi Hartman the following. He said, "The donut that you promised to give me, can you please buy it on Monday and give it to me then? Because today's Thursday, I don't do Fridays and Sundays. Yeah, I take long weekends, and I want the donut to be fresh. And if you buy it today, then by Monday it's not going to be very fresh. So can you please buy it Monday morning?" That, in my eyes, is the height of chutzpah. Total chutzpah. Baruch Hashem, life has moved on in Hasmonean, and I don't think you'd find that nowadays. I hope you wouldn't. And due to the efforts of Rahman and many others, I don't think you'd find that nowadays. But that is chutzpah. That's called azus. That's a certain brazenness. Is azus all bad, or is it good? Well, take a look at the Mishnah. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, in Perek Hey Mishnah Chof, Yehuda ben Tema Omer, Have oz kanemer, be as bold as a leopard, v'kal kanesha, v'ratz katzvi, v'giber kari, etc. All these very wonderful virtues. Azus seems to be a very positive thing. Be as bold as a leopard. And then he adds, Hu hoya omer, oz ponim legehenim. So I don't understand. Azus is good or bad? On one hand it says, Have ka'az kanemer, be as bold as a leopard. And in the same Mishnah, the same author says, Az ponim legehenim. A brazen-faced person will go to Gehenna. Is it good or bad? Says Rabbi Bernstein, it depends. There is negative azus and there's positive azus. Negative azus is az ponim legehenim. Bold of face, a funny expression. What does that mean? You make a point of demonstrating how bold you are. You're az ponim, it's on your face. It's a value in itself, and it's not a means to an end. That is negative azus. But if it's used in a positive way, it's a means to an end. It makes me resolute. It's ensuring that I do what is right in the face of apathy, in the face of derision, or whatever it may be. Then azus is very, very positive. So azus, it depends. Now, we see azus in Megillas Rus. That is one of the mainstays of Shavuos. Is of course Megillas Rus. Rus was the most remarkable personality. She made a decision. We're familiar with the story. Naomi is married to Elimelech, has two sons. They leave Eretz Yisrael, and with her husband and her two sons and her two daughters-in-law, they find themselves in Moav. Life implodes for her. Disaster. Her husband dies. Her two sons die. Famine. And she's left with her two daughters-in-law. One daughter-in-law, Arpa, goes back to her Moabite roots. Rus, on the other hand, is determined to cleave to Naomi. And she demonstrates a certain boldness to go back to Eretz Yisrael with her mother-in-law and not go for the easy option of going back to the comfort of her Moabite royal lifestyle. Her future ahead was very unknown. She was poor, she had no financial means, she had no marriage prospects. Life was very difficult for her. She displayed a positive type of azus to do what was right. Now, here's something fascinating. There are a total of 85 psukim in Megillas Rus. 77 of those psukim begin with the letter Vov. The Medrash, this is a Medrash Zuta. I've got it there in the box. If you're listening online, please email me at j.golker@gmail.com. I'll send you the handout. The Medrash Zuta says in Parak Beis Pasuk Ches, Omer B'chia Ba'amo, Kol Roshei Psukim Shel Rus, every beginning of every of the 85 psukim of Rus begin with a Vovin, Chutz Mishmeina Psukim, apart from 8 of them, Mipnei, Shedov Kol Bnei Bris, Shenitna L'Shmeina. Why 8 exceptions? Because Rus cleaved to Bnei Bris, the people of the covenant, Bris Milah, which is of course given on the 8th day of the boy's life. Now, that is a very enigmatic medrash, very interesting. 85 psukim in Megillas Rus, 77 beginning with the letter Vov, 8 not. Why 8? Because 8 represents Bris, and she was joining the people of the Bris, of the covenant HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is given on the 8th day. What does that medrash mean? Rabbi Shlomo Alkabetz, who of course is the author of Luchal Doidi, that's his more well known to us in that way. He has written a sefer. This is going back to 16th century Sfas. Rabbi Shlomo Alkabetz wrote a sefer on Megillas Rus. It's called Sherish Yishai, and in the Hakdama he makes the following point. Hine, take a look at the middle box. Ki inyan sipur shekra nimshach ze'achazeh. What is the letter Vov? The letter Vov in Lashon HaKodesh means a hook or a link, and it represents, a Vov represents a natural flow of events. And therefore, says Rav Shlomo Alkabetz, Hi kinyan sipur shekara nimshach ze'achazeh. There's like a natural flow of events. The story is unfolding. V'lochein roiv ha'psukim maschilin bevov. The majority of psukim in Megillas Rus begin with a vov. V'asher hu ois mamsheches ha'sipur v'hadibu kanoida, because the story is just unfolding in front of you. V'asher nimletu mizeh hinei mu'atzim. But there are very few psukim which do not begin with the letter vov. 8 psukim, misparim shmoina. There are 8 of them. Ve'elegam heim einam below sibah. And those 8 are not without reason. I.e., many of the psukim that refer to her geirus, to her actual conversion, do not begin with a vov, and each one has an explanation why they do not begin with the letter vov. Now, think about it. There are 8 exceptions as to why they do not begin with the letter vov. We know, famously, the Maharal says in many places, that 7 represents the natural order of the world. There are 7 days in the week, many examples. 8 represents Lamala min hateva. 8 represents a level which is beyond nature, and that's really what Bris Milah is. Bris Milah is you're improving on the natural state. 8 therefore is Lamala min hateva, Chanukah, and again it's a well-known theme. Rus demonstrated supernatural strength to defy comfortable options and to defy convention by joining Klal Yisrael. So therefore, there are 77 psukim which represent a natural flow of events, but there are 8 psukim which do not have a natural flow, but they demonstrate a supernatural strength that Rus displays, which go against the sort of natural flow of events. She defies comfort and convention to join the Jewish people. That is a positive azus. Now, where did she get that azus from? Where did Rus come from? We know it's Rus HaMoyaviyah. She comes from Moav. Moav is the epitome, embodies chutzpah and azus. How so? Well, what were the origins of Moav? The origins of Moav were, of course, with Lot. Lot escapes from Sodom. He runs away. He thinks the world is at the end. He thinks he is the sole survivor with his 2 daughters. He lives with his daughters. They both produce children. the eldest one, Vateirit habechira ben vatikra shemoy Moav. That is very brazen. That is very chutzpahdik. You don't call the child Moav. You should be a bit more discreet. On the contrary, the second child is called Amoin, which is a bit more tsanua, a bit more discreet. And Rashi, in fact, on the pasuk there in Bereshis in Parshas Vayera says Moav, she was punished for it. Zu shelo hesasnua pirsha sheme'aviahi. She sort of brazenly says that the father of this child is my father, and therefore she was punished later. Avul Tzeira, the younger child, the younger daughter, Karosa Beloshin Nakia, used a more delicate expression for Kiblischa b'mei Moshe, as Rashi goes on to explain, because with Ammon it says Al Tiskar Bam, don't involve yourself at all with them, just leave them alone. But with Moav it says you can't fight them. Avol Letzar on Hitler, you could shepherd them a little bit. So that was payback down the generations. But either way, what you see is that Moav embodies chutzpah, a certain brazenness. Now, it actually goes back further, because the progenitor of Moav was, of course, Lot. Lot found his happy refuge in Sodom. Sodom were sort of their constitution made kindness illegal and cruelty mandatory. That is the height of chutzpah. It's one thing to tolerate cruelty. It's one thing to sort of not put a value on kindness, but to mandate it and to put it into your constitution is the height of chutzpah. So you see that Moav embodies chutzpah. The source of that is really Sodom, and Rus has that midah of brazenness that she sort of inherits from Lot. She inherits from Moav, from Lot, from Sodom. It all goes back to there. But she distills it and uses the koach of azus, of brazenness, in a very positive sense. Not only does she use it in a positive sense to join Klal Yisrael, like I say, to defy comfort and convention, but she then bequeaths it to her great-grandson, who's of course David HaMelech. David HaMelech displays a trait of boldness, and if a trait of boldness is critical for any individual, then it's certainly needed for a king. And David HaMelech was fearless, he was determined, he fought his enemies, he was a leader par excellence. Perhaps that's why Rus is called the Imish HaMalchus. The Imish HaMalchus means that she bequeathed the midah of Azus, positive, the holy kernel of Azus, to her great-grandson in a very positive sense. Now, with all of that, we can understand the Medrash. The Medrash says, based on the pasuk in Tehillim, Motzasi David Avdi, says the Medrash, Heichem Motzasiv, where did you find David HaMelech? Motzasiv b'Stoim, I found him in Stoim. What does that mean? Perhaps, says Rabbi Bernstein, putting all of this together, is this. Azus is a double-edged sword. It can be positive, it can be negative. It can be negative, displayed by Sodom and Lot and Moav, or it can be positive. It can make a person resolute and determined in doing what's right in the face of apathy or adversity or derision. And Rus used that Azus in a very positive sense. So therefore, and she then bequeathed it to David HaMelech. Therefore, the trait of Azus, of strong leadership, of doing what's right, that David HaMelech displayed, found its roots in Sodom. How so? Because he inherited it from Rus, who got it from Moav, albeit a negative aspect, but she transformed it into a positive aspect. But ultimately it came from Moav back to Lot, back to Sodom. And therefore that's pshat perhaps in the Medrash, Heichem Motzasiv, where did I find David HaMelech? B'Stoim. Okay, a very beautiful piece from Rabbi Bernstein. Okay, let's press on. There is a very geschmack of art in the first parak of Rus, towards the end. Again, the background is that Naomi is telling Rus, just go home. Go back to your Moabite roots. I've got nothing else I can give you. My husband has died, the two sons have died, Orpah has left me. I've got no financial means, I've got nothing left for you, no more children for you to marry. There's nothing I can do for you. Vateira ki misametzes. Rus made that passionate plea that she wants to join the ranks of the Jewish people. Vateira, and Naomi sees ki misametzes, which means she is determined. loleches, to go with her. Vatechta ledaber leha, and she stopped speaking to her. Rashi, based on the Gemara, says, therefore, you've got to make it not so easy for a ger to convert. You've got to make sure they're genuine, but at some point, you've got to back off and say, okay, they're genuine. That's how Rashi learns. Now, I think it's the Vilna Gaon who says the following pshat. There is a Gemara in Bava Metzia, a famous Gemara. The Gemara says in Bava Metzia, Yom Echad, one day, have a kosochi Rabbi Yochanan b'Yarden. Rabbi Yochanan, the great Hameira, Rabbi Yochanan was swimming in the Jordan River. Chazi Reish Lakish, v'shovel in Yadza Basrei. He saw Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish was at the time a bandit. He was not the great Hameira that he later became. And he sees Reish Lakish. And Reish Lakish said, Reish Lakish sees Rabbi Yochanan swimming in the river. Rabbi Yochanan was a very handsome man. He said to him, Reish Lakish said to Rabbi Yochanan, Amalei chelech l'raisa. Sorry, Rabbi Yochanan said to Reish Lakish, you are a very powerful person. He was able to jump over one side of the Yarden to the other side, the Gemara just said. So chelech l'raisa, you've got such strength and energy, use it for Torah. What was Reish Lakish's response? Shufrach l'noshi, use your beauty for women. So what was Rabbi Yochanan wasn't startled by that. What did he say? Interesting curious tactic. He said, Amalei, ihadar tebach, if you do tshuva, yavina locha choisai. You think I'm handsome? Look at my sister, she's even more handsome than I am, and I'll arrange for you to marry her. The shofar minai, because she's more pretty, more handsome than I am. Kabel alei, so Reish Lakish says, done, good deal. He wanted to jump back onto the other side of the river to reclaim the rest of his clothes, and he couldn't do it. It's a very strange thing. Reish Lakish had jumped over the river. He had demonstrated tremendous strength and energy. Rabbi Yochanan says to him, whoa, that energy can be used for Torah, you could become something special. He sensed in him tremendous potential. Reish Lakish said, okay, he undertakes to live a life of Torah and mitzvahs, but he can't jump back over the river. Why? The Vilna Gaon, I think it's the Vilna Gaon, says, Torah mateshes koicha shel adam. Torah weakens a person physically. A person is so immersed in Torah, puts all his koichas into Torah, it weakens him. That's why Reish Lakish couldn't jump back. Before, he could jump over the river, no problem, but now he'd undertaken to live a life of Torah and mitzvahs, automatically and immediately, mateshes koicha shel adam. He couldn't jump back. Says the Vilna Gaon, that's pshat. In Megillas Rus, Perek Aleph, Pasuk Yud Ches. That's how Naomi was able to see that Rus was 100% genuine. Why? Vatera ki misametzes hilo leches. Misametzes can also mean she was struggling to walk. She was struggling to go. That pasuk features straight after the psukim where she says, "Al tifki bi, ashatelchi elech, vashatoleni olin," etc. Where we learn out the whole Geirus process. So she has committed to a life of Torah, and mitzvahs, and therefore immediately afterwards, Vatera, Naomi sees ki misametzes hilo leches, that she was struggling to go, she was struggling to walk, and that's why Vatachta ledaber leho, that she ceased speaking to her because she had demonstrated her genuine commitment to Yiddishkeit. Now, that concept of effort and dedication features in the next idea. This is something I saw last Shavuos, an article written by Moshe Yosef Schneeman, Scheineman, I think. I'm not entirely sure who that is, but he wrote a lovely Dvar Torah, a very beautiful idea, and it's from the Chochmas Adam. The Chochmas Adam was of course the author of the great halachic work, a very, very precious and popular, beautiful work on halacha. And what's fascinating about the Chochmas Adam is the Hakdama. Apart from it being a classic, but the Hakdama, the Sefer itself, but the Hakdama is just remarkable. But let me give you some background. The Pasuk says in Parshas Chukas, Zois HaTorah Adam Ki Yamas Bo'el. Parshas Chukas deals with halachas of Tum and Tahara, and it says, Adam Ki Yamas Bo'el, the Gemara in Bracha Samachim on base famously says, Reish Lakish again, interestingly, the same Reish Lakish, Minayin She'in Divrei Torah, Miskay Min El B'Misha Memis Atzmei Oleho. Torah will only latch on to somebody who really, really exerts himself on it. I.e., his memis atzmei aleha, he kills himself over it. How do I know that? Zois ha-Torah adam ki yomas ba'ehel. Now, with that in mind, take a look at this remarkable introduction of the Chochmas Adam. The Chachmas Adam was a businessman. He was a tremendous Talmid Chacham. But look what he writes in the Hagdama to his classic Sefer. V'hine yodaiti, ki yislach hashu alai. I've taken out the main points. People are going to whisper about me. V'yomru, and they'll say, Halo zeho ish yodanu boi, shehoya misoichri eretz, leFrankfurt v'Leipzig. I know this person, this individual. He's a businessman. He used to go to Frankfurt and to Leipzig. Yosim etezvo shonim v'toirosa emas nasis. When did he become such a great scholar? Dalacho achi, says the Chochmas Adam. No. Ki nesiasi lemerchakim lo hoya lekabetz oishe chalila. I wasn't going just to accumulate wealth. Yeid olai adon hakol rak lefanes pnei beisi. I did it so I could keep pay my mortgage, put bread on the table, finance my family. And this is the practice of my father and my ancestors. He's talking about his father now. He didn't get paid for his teaching Torah. And he had 10 sons. And he honestly provided for them. And he would constantly give shiurim in public, but he didn't take a penny for it. I'm following in his footsteps. Next paragraph. This is astonishing. And like Chazal say about a woman, that if she is not planning on getting married, if she then lives for 10 years without desiring or hoping to get married, and she's living without being married, and this is tailored. But if, even though she's still single, but if she hopes to get married one day, then even if she's in a state of singlehood for more than 10 years, then please God she'll get married, she'll still be able to bear children. Kach ha'ish ha'yisraeli, so too a man. If a person abandons Torah and just gives up hope with it, it will distance itself from him as well. He won't be able to engage fully in Torah. But if he only leaves Torah because he's forced, it's an onus, he has to go and do business or whatever it may be, when he can't learn, Chas v'shom, he should distance himself from it. It remains in him in a sort of latent way. So too I say about myself. Yes, I traveled on business and I engaged in commerce. I was constantly immersed in Torah when I was traveling and when I was doing business. Even when I was actually doing business, I was thinking of a certain explanation, a certain kasha, of a prat b'shas mitzvah b'shish mitzvah, and specifically with the 6 mitzvah, I was thinking about those as well. Remarkable. And other fellow businessmen will testify about me. Even when I was traveling in Leipzig in Germany, I didn't stop from learning. I took with me a Gemara and a Chumash and a Mishnah. Even at the time of the business at the fair, the market, I would always learn at least a daf and a half of Gemara, apart from learning Mishnayos. I'm not writing this to show off, to be arrogant. Who am I? If you've learned a lot of Torah, don't give yourself a pat on the back, because you were created for that reason. And certainly you're obligated to learn every day. Do you think I pat myself on the back because I put on tefillin every day? There's an obligation to learn every single day as well, even when you're traveling, even when you're doing business. To learn every single day. Last paragraph. I'm only saying this because many business people make a mistake. when they're traveling, or Prat B'Shas Yirid, or certainly when it's a very busy tax season, or when it's the market opens, Omrim Kederech Halot, so they say, Kivan Shenas Me'am, Potem Min HaMitzvahs Chalila. I can't learn now, I can't keep mitzvahs now. Lo Zeu Derech HaTorah, that's not the Torah way. Kamayim Rabbi Tarfon, V'yat Ben Chorin Potem Mena, you can't just absolve yourself from Torah. V'chiyuv Zehu B'chol Eis V'zman, K'dichsiv B'shivtecha B'veisecha V'lechtecha V'derech. V'ulai Mimenu Yilmudu B'ni, B'nei Yotzi Chalotza, maybe my descendants will learn from me. Even if 1 in 1,000 learns this lesson, then that will be a zechus for me. Remarkable hakdama of the Chochmas Adam. Now, why do I share this with you? Aside from the focus of Torah, which is the central theme of Shavuos, it answers an interesting kasha. Because, and this we'll finish with this. Shmuel says, the Gemara says in Chulin, Ana lahamilsu chalaba chamra. In this respect, says Shmuel, I am like vinegar, the son of wine, compared to my father. In other words, I'm totally inferior to my father. In what way? De'ilu abba, because my father, havasaya nechose trezim nibiyome. He would inspect his properties twice a day. And I would only inspect my properties once a day. What on earth does that mean? Shmuel, his statement is puzzling in the extreme. He's inferior to his father, he says. I'm like chala bar chamra, I'm like vinegar, the son of wine. But yet, his father spent more time inspecting his worldly possessions twice a day, where Shmuel only did it once a day. Surely Shmuel is superior in the exact example that he gives. It says, Reb Shaineman, beautiful pshat. In light of the above Chochmas Adam, perhaps you can explain that Shmuel's father was able to maintain a focus on learning despite inspecting his properties twice a day. He could maintain that level of focus and concentration. Shmuel said, I can only manage doing that once a day. Twice a day, that's beyond me. Amazing. So perhaps that is the pshat in that Gemara in Chulin based on the above Chochmas Adam. So there we go. Very interesting ideas for Shavuos. The first is from Megillas Rus, that very enigmatic medrash, Motzosi David Avdi, Heichen Motzosi Bestoim. What does that mean? Perhaps it means that David HaMelech had a certain determination, a fearlessness he needed as a leader. Where did it come from? The Imeshel Malchus. It came from Rus, who ultimately displayed a certain commitment to the truth. She was resolute to do what's right in the face of apathy, in the face of derision. Where did that come from? It came from Moav, who is the ultimate brazen person, which comes from Loit, which comes from Stoim, in a negative way. Rus was able to transform it in a positive way, and you see there both there's a double-edged sword. That's what it means in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. On one hand it says az kaneme, on the other hand it says az ponim legehenem. There are two types of brazenness, and that's really what's referred to in the Medrash Zuta. There are 85 psukim in Rus, 77 begin with a vav, that's the natural flow of events, but there are 8, the Bnei Bris, which demonstrate a supernatural commitment on the part of Rus to go against the flow, and it's not a natural state of flowing. Then we said that beautiful idea, I think, of the Vilna Gaon, of Rish Lakish, Vaterki Misametzes Laleches. She was determined to go. What does that mean? Because Mater Mateshes Kochesh Lodom. When she committed, like Rish Lakish, he couldn't jump back over the river after he had committed to a life of Torah, well, so too Rus was therefore struggling to walk, and that's what Naomi saw, and that's how she knew Vatechta Ledaber Eleha. And then, that beautiful idea of Shaineman, that Shmuel's puzzling statement, he's like vinegar, the son of wine, in respect to his father. His father inspects the property twice a day, is more involved in worldly pursuits, and yet he's inferior, but he only inspects once a day. What does that mean? The answer is that perhaps in light of the Chochmas Adam remarkable Hagdama, that Shmuel's father was able to maintain his focus on learning despite inspecting his properties twice a day. But Shmuel said he could only maintain that once a day. Either way, I think we see some beautiful ideas to take with us into Shavuos, that we should take the royal chutzpah, that positive azus into Yontef, and to make sure that we're resolute in doing what's right, and to display that focus and determination and dedication in Torah in this Yontef that is about to come. Thank you.